1, 2, and 3. Aloha. I think it's funny every time I start the show we're always saying something goofy. Anyways,
it's more just that usually Brad is here and he starts counting the numbers to you.
I know.
And then that just makes everything feel a little
like official.
Yeah, exactly.
And me,
then I get nervous and I start spitting up.
Brad's not here this week. Sorry, guys.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. I guess you're going to miss Brad. Anyways, welcome to Real Nerds. I'm Ryan. Across from me, you've already heard him, is...
James.
And this week, we saw Cowboys and Aliens. But before we get to Cowboys and Aliens, how about some real news? Cool. James, you actually have a whole list. That's good because I was totally unprepared this week. But we already kind of talked about some of the things we always do when we see each other, and even before we sit down to the show.
It's hard not to.
Yeah, because it's awesome. Anyways, what's the first thing you want to talk about? Because actually, if you don't mind, I want to actually spit off something that hopefully you can help me with.
Sure.
And that's the Battleship trailer. What in the hell is that all about?
Start with a showstopper. How about? I saw this online earlier today.
I've not seen it. I knew the movie was in production, and this is how much I didn't know about the movie. I knew the movie was in production. I have no idea what the movie's about.
Well, it's about ships.
Yes.
And they're at war.
They're battling.
Yeah, and it just so happens that they're at war with aliens.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess I got that from the trailer.
Ships. Yeah.
But I didn't
this
even
is
know...
in no way related to Battlefield Earth, which is a completely different thing.
I had no idea Liam Neeson was even in the movie.
Yeah. Right?
And you know what sucks even more? Well, besides the idea behind it, is even when the trailer started, I didn't even know it was for Battleship. I had no idea. But I'm like, this looks like
it was just
really
like super generic, like
stupid
I'm in a war.
Navy movie.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, that was the worst trailer I have ever seen.
It's definitely the worst one I've seen in a while.
Because
and followed by some of the best trailers, at least of the year.
Yeah, and two, you're watching it, and it seems obviously they're probably still shooting the movie because it doesn't come out for a year.
Yeah,
and it seems really sloppy. Like the editing is not good. The only special effect, I guess, that looked halfway decent was the alien ship coming out of the water.
Oh yeah, no, it looked pretty. Actually, it looks exactly. I wish it were a Predator movie because it looks exactly like a Predator ship.
It does, but I mean, even the shot of the dude like being shot backwards or knocked off the.
Oh yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible.
So what is the premise of that movie? I have no idea.
Wait, it's director Peter Berg, who's been an actor for a while. Yeah, well, I mean. I guess O is the right way. He did The Rundown, and I love that movie.
Yeah,
and
The Rundown's awesome.
Everything after that is like it's just bad dreams. I never saw The Kingdom, and I want to, but after that is Hancock, and then this. He also did Friday Night Lights, which I was never really impressed with. The movie.
The
TV show, I guess he was a producer, but anyway, it's exactly what you see in the trailer. There's aliens, and they crash in the water, and there are boats, which are somehow still relevant, especially when fighting aliens. And Liam Neeson is there, and he's the guy who tells them to shoot. Mm-hmm. And their radar goes out. Goes out, and they have to guess. They can't look at where the aliens are. They just have to guess because the aliens are a giant board comes up in the middle of the water.
Serious?
No.
Oh,
that would be.
But there's like a bubble going around it.
Well, because the bubble that bubble
wipes out radar.
No, that bubble keeps out reality. I assume. I describe it as a Gungan shield, which is really not, because Gungan shields let things in. This seems like, these ships are the only things locked in this bubble, so they're the only people who can save the world from aliens. I think that's where they're going. It doesn't matter, because I don't think I'm going to see it.
Oh, I'm not going to see it.
I can't imagine, unless I saw it ironically, or got a free ticket, or something, but... It looks ridiculous.
I'm sorry I had to start with that, but I was thinking about that during the movie about how stupid of a movie that is.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is that looks like it's about a $250 to $300 million movie.
It's probably somewhere around 2. I bet, with who is cast in that movie. I mean, Liam Neeson's
who's the lead guy in it?
I have no idea.
I've never seen him before.
I've never seen that guy before, but it's got Alexander Skarsgård or Skarsgård. Skarsgård.
He was great in Green Lantern.
Was he in Green Lantern?
Yeah.
No. That's
That's Peter. Sorry,
Peter Skarsgård. Yeah, this is the guy who's in what's it called? True Blood. He plays the Viking vampire in True Blood.
I've never seen True
and he's
Blood.
really good in that, and I want to see him in movies, but not in this one.
Oh man,
I mean,
I could not get that out of my head about how crappy of a trailer that is.
It's really ridiculous, and like I said, coming after. Oh wow, it's the same guy who's playing. I believe it's the same guy who's playing John Carter of Mars, who is also the guy who throws the cards in X-Men.
Oh, it's Taylor Litchnich.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The actor's name Taylor Kitsch.
Yeah.
Kitsch.
Okay.
But I can't remember that character's name who throws the cards.
Gambit.
Yeah, everybody loves Gambit for some reason.
I know, right?
Anyway, so
but I couldn't believe that's a real movie.
Yeah, and I was saying in the car that I feel like when they announced it, I thought that's a horrible idea. That'll probably never happen. The same as all the other Hasbro games that they turn into or are turning into movies.
The Monopoly I've heard of.
Monopoly, though, I haven't heard any movement on that in a while. Ouija is happening, which
I know.
Ouija,
I heard there's a trailer for it.
I can see Ouija being a movie. Ouija is simple. It's like somebody talks to somebody from the dead and bad things happen. There's a story there.
Exactly. You could just, the only part of the Ouija part you need is you have them, we're communicating with the dead people, and then the dead spirits come back.
Yeah.
Then the board's done. You don't have to...
And even Battleship, if you stepped back from it and said, like, okay, how would you make this? Well, you make it Crimson Tide or Hunt for Red October, something like that, though with ships instead of... Though there's submarines in Battleship. But, basically you only use the title. Where I was going was that I thought, because of how ridiculous the idea of making a movie out of this is, that they would... go for something a little more obscure, something that's not a direct translation of the game.
Exactly. Like, every time when the camera zoomed up and it had like those crosshairs,
3 ships over here and 3 ships over here. Where could they be higher? Yeah.
And what are they gonna say? B-12.
Yeah.
And
I can't understand it.
But they can still see the ships. So are they really shooting blind?
No.
And then the other ships.
I don't know how ships work.
The aliens are hovering above the water, correct?
No, it looks like maybe they're crashed. So their propellers, their propulsion systems can't get them too far out of the water.
You know what, James? I like your idea. Here's $150 million. Go make your movie.
All right. I'll make a movie for about 4 and keep the rest. It wouldn't take much.
What the heck, man?
I know.
I just had to get that off my chest about how terrible that is.
Yeah. It looks really, really horrible.
It's a toss-up between that and the Twilight Saga New Moon or Breaking Dawn.
No, that trailer is amazing. He breaks the bed. That's how sexy he is.
Yeah, but also remember when the werewolf got the invitation to the wedding?
The laminated werewolf, the laminated invitation. Yeah, because
it's raining.
Everybody knew it was going to be raining.
And he threw it down. He ripped off his shirt and then morphed into a wolf.
Yeah.
I guess in the Twilight universe, you can turn into a wolf anytime you want.
Well, only if you're a werewolf. That guy's a wolf boy. Like he can do that because that's the thing. I know that you don't know as much about Twilight as I do, but it's a whole love triangle. It's kind of like Jack and Kate and Sawyer in Lost, right? Only Sawyer can turn into a wolf, and Jack is a vampire. And
wow.
Also, and Kate has no personality at all, and Lost is bad for people. I don't like this analogy anymore.
That's a terrible analogy.
It really is.
Only because
it made me say things I never wanted to say.
Lost is so great.
Yeah. I don't even know Battleship.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. And it comes out in May, so that means who's putting it out? Paramount?
Yeah.
That means they have enough faith in it that it's going to make them money.
Yeah, and May. Did they say it was like May 11th? Right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it's not quite started. Usually May 2nd is like Marvel weekend.
Yeah, that's where the Avengers next year.
Oh, good. So I can go see the Avengers again instead of cool. Very cool. But yeah, the fact that they're trying to start the summer with Battleship is just
embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead. I had sort of a list of movies that we'll just sort of talk about real quick as far as where we think they are. And Battleship was one of them. The other one was, did you see anything about Ghost Rider coming out of Comic-Con?
I watched an interview with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, did you?
And I got out of what Nicolas Cage would say Yeah. What I get from it is he needs money. And so you've seen the original Ghost Rider, correct?
Yeah.
I saw it once. I saw it in the theaters.
I didn't see it in the theater. I rented it.
You're lucky. I don't have... a Ghost Rider as a character to me is cool. I think it's cool that Satan sends up somebody to fight demons, and that he rides around on a chopper and he has a flaming skull. I get the idea.
Yeah,
I think
he's got some weird powers.
Exactly. I think it'd be cool. It has a chain. One of my favorite obscure Spider-Man stories features Ghost Rider. It's called Spirits of Vengeance. And
isn't that the subtitle of this movie?
It is.
Yeah.
It's The Spirit of Vengeance, but Spirits of Vengeance is this one. And the story revolves around Spider-Man and Ghost Rider teaming up, and Venom and this guy named Deathwatch, who's really crazy, and he died, but they're trying to resurrect him. They go in the sewers and they have to fight, and so they have some kind of cool fight scenes, and it's cool because it's a dark Spider-Man story, and Venom realizes what he's doing wrong, and they team up, yada, yada, yada. So it's kind of a cool, different story you don't see Spider-Man in every day. Yeah. So I like the idea of Ghost Rider. I think Nicolas Cage can play a character like that. I think Nicolas Cage can be a good actor.
Yeah, for sure.
But the first Ghost Rider is a mess. You're correct. What my biggest problem, I have two problems with that, is tonally the movie's all over the place.
Yeah.
And I don't like, they try to be funny, but then they try to be serious with, Wes Bentley is this crazy demon guy.
Yeah.
And there's two things that really bother me visually about the movie. Well, not visually. One is audio-wise, and the other is video. Visually, thank you. Yeah. When Ghost Rider is riding in the swamp, and it looks like they're just pulling trees across. It's like he's not even driving.
Well, that's completely skipping over the fact that the motorcycle's ridiculous. The CG in the fire is ridiculous. But it's way over the top.
Exactly. And the thing I don't like is Ghost Rider's voice. Why does he have to have a voice like this?
Oh, yeah.
Burn
he's
it
got the, yeah.
That's just retarded.
I forgot about that.
And you don't need it. So
because I try to forget that movie as much as possible.
Exactly. So me watching Nicolas Cage in a movie that no one's asked for.
Yeah.
It's like Punisher War Zone. Do you really need another Punisher movie?
Yeah. This is an interesting one for me because it's Neville Dean and Taylor are the directors who they're the guys. How do you feel about the Crank movies? Did you see them? Do you like them?
They're all right. I mean, they're stupid, but visually they're cool.
Oh, sure. All right. Well, I can go with that. They're definitely stupid. They're big. They were going for like, okay, we want to make video games in a movie.
But that's with the Crank. That's what it wants to be. It wants to be.
And
dumb.
Here, the thing that I appreciate about Neville Dean and Taylor is sort of the practicality of it. One of the things that I heard people talking about, because people are excited about this movie.
Really?
Yeah, they are. And one of the things I heard somebody talk about was there's apparently a shot where like they had the director and an actor and a motorcycle all like on a wire, and so before the motorcycle went off of like a big jump and jumped over a cliff, the director with the camera went over the wire across the cliff, and so they actually got a shot that I guess would normally be CG, and that kind of like practical film work I think is neat. So I'm interested to see it.
I mean, I'll see the movie because I like supporting superhero movies because I like the comic book genre.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that they're shooting in Europe. I think it could add something to it.
And they also, you said something about the supporting characters thing. The nice thing I think about that is that unlike, the big Marvel movies and stuff like that, or the Green Lanterns, with something like Ghost Rider, they've got a little more room to play around and find an interesting story. They're working on a lower budget, so they have to be a little more careful about what they do. And that's one of the other things that's interesting is that like they released a picture of Ghost Rider on the motorcycle. There's like his head's on fire, but it's not that, it's a cool looking image. Mm-hmm. The motorcycle looks like a regular motorcycle that's just made out of like char and coal and all of that. Cool. So it's not this big like, all the chains and CG weird looking stuff.
Basically what you're saying is that because they have a smaller budget, they scaled everything back and made it look cooler?
Yeah, basically. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Sometimes
hopefully there won't be any like driving up the sides of buildings and stuff
sometimes
like that.
When you have too much money, it's a bad thing. I mean, the Green Lantern, Wild Wild West. Yeah. I mean, some things are just unnecessary, and Yeah.
And while I don't like Neville Dean and Taylor, I like them more than I do Paul W.S. Anderson, so it's at least an improvement. Did you see the pictures of Total Recall?
Yeah.
How do you feel about Total Recall?
Again,
These are all things we haven't really talked about.
Yeah,
That's why
it's funny that you say that, because the Schwarzenegger movies I don't think really need to be remade.
Yeah.
Because they're in a time and a place where that kind of movie is cool.
Yeah.
But if they're going to make it cool, like I like Total Recall, the first one, and I read an interview with Colin Farrell, and he said, I'm not going to say consider that a divorce because it sounds goofy coming from me, and that's cool that they're not going to make it, here's an Arnold one-liner, because the one thing I do think that Arnold Schwarzenegger does better than a lot of people is the one-liner, and there's an art to it. I think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is great at it too. Someone like Vin Diesel makes me roll my eyes. You know what? Because there is an art to being funny.
Yeah,
and
to delivering like these kind of kitsch lines in a way that's really serious.
Exactly. So I don't know. I think it's cool. I think they're changing the story enough.
Yeah.
And I respect that they're saying, oh well, we have better technology, we can do different things.
Yeah.
I mean, the Johnny Cab, that just looks dated now, and
I feel like what they're going for. I'm a big fan of. I'm usually a fan of the movies that they base after Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
Stories.
Minority Report.
And so I feel like, Minority Report is one of my least.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways, go ahead.
Another day. There's this weird scene with some rolling eyeballs and that kind of weird humor in that movie that I just. Anyway. And so I feel like if what they're going for is more of a let's take the story and sort of re-envision it, not as a remake of the original movie, but as. And I don't think they're completely committing to that. I think they're still going to call back to stuff in the first movie.
But it doesn't take place on Mars, if I read correctly, correct? It's on Earth.
I think, there's definitely some stuff that they changed. Oh, sorry. But I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, there's not a lot that's been released about it. I've seen like
some pictures,
4 or 5 pictures, and the one that's been circulating around the most is the one where Colin Farrell has his hands up, and the dudes are behind him.
The thing that scares me the most is Jessica Biel, but hopefully,
I don't mind her that much. She's kind of hot, so
I think,
it's all right.
Yeah, but I think she does a worse job than plenty of other people who could.
I'm surprised Olivia Wilde's not in it.
I would be fine if Olivia Wilde's in it.
She's cool.
Anyway, the next one. Did you see the picture of Dredd? And how do you feel about them remaking Judge Dredd?
I didn't like the first Judge Dredd with Stallone, so that's one of those movies that's fine that they're remaking that because the first one wasn't that good, and I don't mind Keith Urban.
Yeah,
what movie is he good in that you don't really?
Born.
Yeah.
He's in Born too.
Yeah, when he's kind of
he's Bones in Star Trek.
Yeah, that's why
epic.
That's what I meant to say is Star Trek. He's really good in.
Yeah.
So
as a Star Trek fan, he just kills like that. He stole that movie from me.
And so I actually have more faith in him than in some. And
certainly in Stallone's.
Yeah. So I saw the picture of Judge Dredd. It looks like he did in the comics. So
yeah. So he kind of did in the original too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really weird and it's early.
It's a weird movie concept anyway, so
yeah.
We'll see about that one.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and skip to one of the big stories then. They started shooting Oz the Great and Powerful?
Yeah.
That was the Great and Powerful, not Wonderful. This week at some point, and they also released sort of a synopsis. I didn't read the synopsis. I have no idea what this movie is about.
It's basically how Oz became... I know it's about the Wizard of Oz and how he got to... What's even the name?
Oz.
Oz. Yeah, that's right. The Land of Oz.
Yeah, it's the Land of Oz.
And how he got there. And it's Robert Downey Jr., so...
Okay.
It's Sam Raimi, and if anybody could direct a movie that's visually and will look good and will have a nice pace to it and will be hyperactive and fun, my favorite director can do it.
Yeah.
And I love everything Sam Raimi does, whether it's The Evil Dead, For the Love of the Game.
Oh, man, I forget.
Even something like A Simple Plan, where it's really slow moving, but he has an ability with his camera and his storytelling through the lens that he makes everything fun. Even his Western, The Quick and the Dead, has some awesome shots in it. I love In that movie, my favorite shot is when Russell Crowe shoots a dude in the head, and the camera pulls back and goes through the dude's head and comes all the way out. That's the thing I miss.
It does feel like a really good match because, Oz is a place where there's lots of goofy stuff going on, and you've got to sort of sell this, I don't know, silliness is maybe harsh or something, but, it is. It's a certain level of silliness that's fun, and you've got to be able to sell that, and he does that really well. He can, in a lot of his movies, he can switch from action to drama to comedy really seamlessly.
I think why Spider-Man 2 is regarded as one of the greatest comic book movies of all time is because he balances so many stories in that.
Yeah.
But he makes it one seamless movie. Whether it's Peter Parker struggling with being Spider-Man, and then you're cutting to Otto Octavius coming to life as Dr. Octopus, and it's a horror movie. It's a straight shot for shot from Evil Dead 2.
Oh, for sure.
And if you're a fan, you're like, oh, that's funny because he's kind of winking at himself there. And so he's able to balance all that. And even Drag Me to Hell, I mean, you have some really intense moments in there, and then he always adds his little humor in it.
I'm not a huge horror fan, and then, when I get scared really easily, and there are scenes where he'll scare me, and the next thing I know, there's a talking goat, and I'm laughing, and then he scares me again.
And
with a talking goat.
Yeah, and that's his style, and that's why Sam Raimi is my favorite director, because visually and storytelling-wise, I don't think there's very many directors better than him.
Yeah. Because
he's able to do it. So, yeah, it's an interesting movie, and I'm interested to see how they pull it off because it's a Disney movie.
Yeah.
So, but also Disney made The Return to Oz, which is really dark.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. You should check it out. It's really interesting. It's not. I don't know if it's a good movie, but there's parts in it that are really disturbing.
Yeah.
And because Dorothy goes back to Oz and it's destroyed, and so she has to kind of. You have to watch it. I haven't seen it in a while, but visually it's interesting, and it's an interesting take on the characters, and I like that. Again, Brad always doesn't like this. He says we got into this last week about you don't or maybe it wasn't last week, is when we were talking about Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Where you're talking about, he says you don't always need to know how people got there. But to me, I think it's sometimes interesting to find out. I think especially someone with the Wizard of Oz, why is he so feared? Why is he so revered?
Yeah.
Why do people go to him with their problems? Was he benevolent at the beginning, and what made him not be? I think it's interesting, and so, and Robert Downey Jr. is always fun.
Yeah. I agree with Brad that you don't always need to find out the backstory behind things. We'll talk about it later when we talk about our movie of the week. In fact, I think it's a pretty good example of that. But sometimes you're right. It's interesting, especially if, like Oz in the original Wizard of Oz, there's not that much there that you're really, this doesn't sound like a prequel. This sounds like, hey, we're going to tell this story in Oz. It's going to have a character you've heard of, but interpreted in a way probably that you would never have expected. And so all really is that he will survive the end of the movie, which is true of pretty much every movie with a hero.
Yeah.
So
I think it'd be interesting, and I'm always excited to see a new Sam Raimi movie because I like Spider-Man 3, and I always make excuses for it. But it's the worst of the Spider-Mans. But really, come on. I mean, you can. That movie is 30,000 times better than Elektra. And the people, I'll never forget, people always blast that movie now, but when that movie came out, not very many people said they didn't like it. So but so even when he made Drag Me to Hell, I saw his energy come back, where in Spider-Man 3 he had some of it, but it seemed like he was really handcuffed. But in Drag Me to Hell he had his energy back. So I'm really excited to see him make another movie and in a different world. And with his visual and storytelling, I think we'll make an awesome movie.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Sort of two little announcement things that were just things in the works. They've announced today that Red Tails is finally going to get made, which is the new George Lucas movie that's a World War II film. I believe it's about like fighter pilots in World War II. He's been talking about making this for like 15 years. Do you care?
No.
Yeah, neither do I. I'm pretty sure that the guy who made American Graffiti is dead at this point. So whatever he makes, it'd be great to think that he, especially because this doesn't sound like a movie where he can make toys. So it'd be great. It'd be really great if he made a movie that was fun and well written and had characters again. But I doubt it. And the other one is they moved some things around about the Osama bin Laden movie, and I just we haven't talked about this at all. How do we feel about... They're making a movie called Killing Osama bin Laden.
Mm-hmm.
Which, it's Catherine Bigelow who made The Hurt Locker, and they were making this movie before they killed Osama bin Laden. And I just don't... I honestly don't know how I feel. I don't know if it's too soon, if it's exploitative, or...
See, I don't care about that. Someone like that, I don't think you have to have any sympathy for, and I know what you mean.
I'm not saying that we need to have sympathy for him, and I don't care. We're better off without him. I more mean that at a certain point, are you making a movie to make money on the fact that we just...
Yeah.
It's more about them making money off of this story so soon.
Yeah. But I think that's actually a compelling story. I really do.
I do too. I want to hear the story.
Because you could... That's literally a Hollywood movie. It starts out on a beautiful September day, and then...
I don't think that'll be in the movie.
No, I know. Well, actually, you can go back farther than that, but his reign of terror goes there. He gets away. No one can find him. He sends out these messages. Oh, fear me, blah, 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 dumbass. And then the United States gets wind where he's at. The SEAL teams comes in and just get rid of him. Yeah. So, it has the makings of a movie. But if I remember correctly, reading about it, it's about them trying to find him.
Right, exactly.
And
which is kind of why my hope is that they change the title. I think that's the only thing about it, is that I feel like that title is a flashy sort of...
exploitive. I get what you're saying, because it's like, hey...
like I said, it's just, there's something about it that rubs me a little just weird. But I don't know. We'll see. As long as the movie has a better ending than The Hurt Locker, I'm okay with it. And then there's the one last thing before our big story of the week. They released a trailer for The Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra. You've never watched The Last Airbender, have you?
No.
Okay.
Wait. Is M. Night Shyamalan making a second movie?
No. This is a sequel to the original cartoon series. So
Live action?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is really from the people who made The Last Airbender. They're making another series in that world. Mm-hmm. And you've never seen the original show, right?
I've seen a couple episodes.
Oh, okay.
I don't follow it like you have.
Right. Well, I'm not going to say necessarily that you need to watch it. If it doesn't strike your fancy, fine. But I will say it's the best action cartoon show I think I've ever seen, and one of the best cartoon shows... Well, one of my favorite cartoon shows ever. Probably the best one I've seen since I was a little kid. Mm-hmm. The only, there's no other cartoon show that I watch now that is a modern cartoon show. But this one, when I heard about it and somebody finally convinced me to watch it, got its hooks into me and was just, it's amazing. It's a wonderful, yes, it's got the morals and the simple storytelling that you would expect, but the characters are well rounded, and the art visually, it's amazing. The fight sequences are great. So, if anybody's interested, you should check it out.
Sure.
Especially if you have kids. Especially like in the 8 to 10 age. Like,
not that I know of now, but...
it might have been a crazy
one-night stand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, the trailer is just beautiful. And even if you're not a fan, people should check it out. Because it's really... especially as animation goes, like it's really just great.
I love animation.
Yeah. And then the big thing is Frank Darabont left The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We talked about it earlier.
It sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. And I didn't know if, I didn't know if it was AMC again, because, they had problems with Mad Men. And they had problems with The Walking Dead's initial writers from season 1.
Right.
And
which that felt more, that the writers thing that you're talking about was a Darabont move. He wasn't really a fan of sort of having a writer's room, and at least this is my interpretation of it from everything that I read. He wasn't really a fan of having a writer's room and was more in the thinking that they should do sort of a more freelance kind of thing where they hire writers to write episodes, which I think has kind of changed a little bit. I think that now, Robert Kirkman, who created it, is a lead writer on the show, which makes me think that there's probably a writer's room again this season. It could just be that they didn't like the writers the first season.
Yeah.
And they said all these nice things, got rid of those writers, and brought in, new people, which is fine. When I hear people talk about this story, they interpret it as like not being genuine. The idea that he's leaving because he doesn't like the fast-paced nature of television, but that sounds exactly like why I would think he would leave. Especially after he's spoke so well the first season about how much he was enjoying it and how he enjoyed directing for the show. So I was really surprised to have him leave, but under these circumstances, it sounds like the right thing. Yeah,
he's a feature film kind of guy anyways.
Exactly.
And he's a writer, so he's probably one that, besides Green Mile, besides The Mist, he makes movies, and it takes a lot. It's the same thing with actors. If you're in a TV show, you're kind of handcuffed.
Yeah.
So I read too that he's staying on as an executive producer.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he'll still have
on in some kind of capacity. Yeah.
And you still have Kirkman, who kind of oversees everything, and you still have
I saw an interview with him just recently. He talked like he is really writing that show.
Yeah.
He's friends with Brian K. Vaughan, who is coming back to comics, and he'd even made a joke about like one of the great things is he's writing the TV. He's writing The Walking Dead, and then in his off time, he was telling Brian K. Vaughan, it's really great that in my off time I can go and write comics, and it's really refreshing. So it sounds like he's really, not just watching over things, he's really producing that show.
Yeah, and that's good. That show is really well done.
Yeah.
And I've said this before. I don't know if I've said it on a podcast, on Nebcast, that you can also get on iTunes. But what really sucked me into that show is because you're always afraid, even though AMC is a little more edgier than NBC or whatever, when you put a zombie show on TV, I always wonder, well, what are they going to have in it? And as I watched the progression of them filming it, and they hired Greg Nicotero, I'm like, oh, okay, because Greg Nicotero is the go-to guy for horror makeup, who got to start on Evil Dead. And so I started getting more comfortable, and then the opening scene of the opening episode.
Yeah. You knew right then.
I knew right then, like, okay, this show has just sold me, because if they're going to show him shooting a little girl zombie in the head and brains blowing out of it, not as left off the table. And I have a feeling they kind of did that on purpose for that opening scene.
Oh, I absolutely think so. And one of the things that I really love about AMC is that I've heard Darabont say on a few occasions that they never went to AMC and said, we want to do this, and AMC said no. So as far as the gore, the violence, or the subject matter, or any of that...
The butt sex?
What? Anyway...
In the second episode, don't you remember when Shane and Lori are having sex? He turns her over. Maybe it's not in the butt, but she doesn't enjoy it.
Yeah, well, that's more for... I feel like... Anyway, then we're getting into the visual language of sex and film. Anyway, I don't even know where I was going.
Sorry.
Oh, so, anytime they came to AMC and said, we want to do something, AMC never said no, which I think is fantastic. I think it's part of why that show is so good, and why, in that opening scene, you were able to see something really disturbing and know right then, okay, we're not pulling any punches. Like, this is really going to be the thing, not even the show, like the thing you always wanted, which is a drama about zombies that doesn't, nobody has to win in the end. People just survive. Mm-hmm. So, I still look forward to the new season, especially considering that the show is pretty much shot at this point.
Oh, yeah. And
or at least halfway through.
Like I said, they showed that 5-minute clip from the show.
Yeah.
Where, they get on that highway and all those cars are, broken down and full of dead people and you see Rick walking up, and then you just hear shh, shh, shh. And then he tells everybody to be quiet. And he looks around, he looks behind him, and there's hundreds of zombies following him. And I just read the trade paperback where they had the herd, and that immediately reminded me of it.
I'm sure it's a herd.
And then
it looks like it's a herd.
And for people listening who don't know what we're talking about, in the comic book, they have 3 types of zombies. They have roamers. What's the second one? Biters?
No, it has to do with how they travel.
Yeah.
The roamers are the ones that, like, there's 1 or 2 of them, and they don't, and they just sort of walk around.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I can't remember the
second one. The second one's the aggressive ones that they'll attack. Maybe. Anyways.
Yeah.
And then the herd is hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And
they're ones that sort of group
together and attack. Wander. And when they're underneath the cars and all those zombies are shuffling by, to me, I don't really get scared TV or movies, but to me that's terrifying.
It's chilling, yeah.
Because, I mean, you have nowhere to go, and there's hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, how long do you stay underneath the car?
And as is so often said about The Walking Dead, truly no one is safe from that show.
Oh, man, nobody's safe.
No one at all is safe.
I mean, there's... In the comic book, spoiler alert, when Tyrese died, when they chopped off, the governor chopped off his head, okay, well... Yeah. There's a guy I really liked for 20 issues.
That's a good spoiler to choose, because that's one that, like, it's not that important. And there's sort of this, in comics, there's this, not even unspoken, it's straight up a spoken rule that you don't spoil Kirkman books. Even though I've heard him spoil Kirkman books, but nobody else spoils Kirkman books, and we're not going to here.
No.
Yeah, I will admit, though, it does scare me as far as... It makes me a little uneasy, because everything... the first season is so good that any kind of change is going to make me uneasy, but I've got faith in it. And the truth is, Darabont's touch on the show is always going to be there.
Yeah.
He set sort of a bar that people are going to be shooting for. So even if there are episodes that aren't directed as well or aren't written as well, that's not even going to be his fault. Like, that's not going to be because he wasn't there.
But I think too, it happens a lot with TV shows. If you can come onto a show, and if it's the standard, I think it will push you to make it that good.
Yeah, exactly.
So because even when Joss Whedon started stepping back from Buffy, I still thought Buffy carried on pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, season 4. But, it's...
Oh, yeah, season 4 is rough. Man.
But there's some great episodes in season 4.
There are. Just Adam is just a horrible villain.
Yeah. But, I mean, Hush is in there. I think Bad Beer is the worst episode of Buffy of all time.
Oh, yeah.
That one just...
That one's so camp of a allegory, kind of...
I don't like that. That's
Getting drunk makes you drunk. Anyway.
Yeah, actually, do you have the Buffy box sets?
Yeah. I have, like, the new one that's actually just all the slim cases in the box.
Because I have the old ones, and it came with season 4 came with a fold-out. And on the back, Joss Whedon, in the early... Well, all of them I have, because I have all the old ones. He has, like, a little thing about the season. He writes, and he's writing in it, and he says... we face a lot of challenges here, Buffy going to college and yada, yada, yada. Oh, and sorry about that one really bad episode. And I know exactly what episode he was talking about.
Oh, that's good. That's just a thing that people should always say about a show.
Exactly.
Like every actually the Lost creators do it, and they actually name that episode. The one about Jack's tattoos.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So yeah, anyways, we might have a commercial. We might not.
Who knows?
Who knows? But if Brad so fancies to put one in here,
this is where it would be.
This is where it'd be.
We could do a commercial for commercials.
Commercials.
People should send us a dollar. A dollar. Just send us $1.
You can. You know what? You can send me the newest issue of Amazing Spider-Man, and
this is not even a like a forever thing. Just this week, you send us $1. We'll talk about your
because
thing.
Without Brad here, we have no motivation to even think of a commercial.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Right back. Hey, welcome back. And this week we saw Cowboys and Aliens. Do you want to hear it go?
Oh, we never did what you've been watching. I don't really have anything. Do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I watched Mad Men and it's boring.
Oh, I watched season 4 of Angel, and
great.
There are good and bad things about it.
I guess we talk about it now. The thing I love about Angel is, what I always told people is it's basically a 24-hour long movie each season.
Yeah.
Except for maybe season 5, they actually kind of break up the episodes.
I haven't seen it. This is actually the first time I've watched through Angel. I sort of, because I started it right after I finished Buffy 2 years ago, but I'd watched 7 seasons of Buffy, and so I'd kind of burned myself out. So I think I watched a season of it, and then a year later I watched 2 seasons, and then just randomly this last week I started watching it and just totally got sucked in.
Oh, that show's amazing.
Yeah.
Really
there are
underrated.
things about season 4, especially the last 8 episodes or so.
Refresh me. I haven't watched him in a while. What's season 4? Is it with his son in season 4?
Well, they're all with a certain.
Or does his son season 3 and it carries over to season 4? I can't remember.
Season 4 is the season where his son
is bad.
Well, he's always bad. I really, I never liked Connor. That character just never worked for me. It's the season with the power that once was. At the end, it's the season that Gina Torres is in at the end, which is actually interesting. I'll talk about this in a second. And it's the season where they they do some stuff with Cordelia that just Cordelia never really is in the season in a way that is. She's maybe my favorite character in the show in all of the Buffyverse.
So you haven't seen season 5?
I haven't seen season 5.
One of the best episodes of all time is with Cordelia in season 5.
Because I know that at a certain point something happens. I sort of had something spoiled for me, as far as like at some point this character something. But she's. There are times when I feel like she's in the season and times when she's not because of what they do to her, and I just didn't like that aspect of the season.
Yeah,
and Connor's horrible. Every scene Connor's in is just horrible, and I hate it.
But I promise you, season 5, I think she's only in one episode. She might be in more. I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's a killer episode.
Oh my gosh, it's so brilliantly acted and shot and.
I'll probably keep watching because I'm in the mood now, so I'll probably go ahead and finish it in the next week or two.
Yeah, and I think Angel is one of the most underrated shows.
It's really good. And it's interesting. Just this year, I think it was that one of the guys from Fox, the guy who's like in charge of television at Fox now, or maybe it was a couple years ago. Anyway, he actually straight up said that canceling Angel was one of the worst decisions that they had ever made. And he wasn't even the guy who did it. It was simply that the guy who was there at the time. Joss Whedon, the ratings were really good, and so Joss felt comfortable going to Fox and saying, like, look, we're finishing season 5, and while we're writing it, we'd really like to know ahead of time that we're going to come back for season 6 so we can do a cliffhanger and not just end the show. And they said, okay, well, we'll talk about it. And then they came back to him and said, no, you're canceled, which was completely unreasonable, should never have happened. The reason he came to them in the first place was because he was comfortable with the idea that they were definitely going to get picked up. So why they should be canceled was just ridiculous. And it's interesting, the events in my head were always very different from this, and then I figured out that the canceling of Firefly is even worse to me now, because now watching that and seeing Gina Torres, then I realized, wait a second, and I went and I looked up the timeline and realized that Firefly came out at the time when both Buffy and Angel were not only still on, but at their height. Like, they were really popular, well-rated shows. And the fact that he came to Fox and said, I want to make another show, and then they said, all right, but we're going to mess with it and play it out of order and not advertise it and do everything wrong is insane.
Yeah.
Like, I always thought it was that he had finished those 2 shows, wanted to start something new, and then they just didn't give him enough help. But no, it was, I'm running 2 of your biggest shows. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he is so snake bitten, and
he said he's never going to go back to TV.
Yeah, because one, you have Buffy. He actually thought it was over at the end of season 5, and they went to the CW or was it WB? Oh, I forget. Whatever. UPN.
Oh, that's right.
UPN came to him. Well, that's why he killed Buffy. Spoiler at the end of season 5. Because he says, well, I don't know if I'm even coming back.
He killed her
I love that. That's one of my favorite episodes.
That's one of the best seasons of television.
Oh, dude.
Because the body's in that season, which is one of the best.
That's so creepy and so... that season 5 is so brilliant.
I've never bawled at an episode of television more than I did at the body. It's art.
It is. And
anyway.
So, yeah, it is so snake bitten because, I'll tell you right now, the ending of Angel... is like bad. The Angel. No, I actually liked it.
Oh, I thought you meant it was a cliffhanger.
It's like the ending of Lost. Most people hate it, but there's a select few like me that really appreciate it.
Okay.
Because when you see it, you'll know it. You'll know what to talk about. We'll talk about it. Cool. And I watch Mad Men, and I still think the show's really boring.
Well, I'm hoping. we talked about this a little before. I'm hoping that somebody drags you into watching a little more of it, and you find that you enjoy certain parts of it. It's definitely not for everybody.
He's pretty cool.
You like Don Draper?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then, as far as I'm concerned, you like that show. If it's a kind of show that I think it's the best written television show right now. But it's really not for everybody. So
now, what I always say, I watch it and I feel like nothing's happening.
Nothing does happen.
And
things happen, but an episode will end and you'll feel like you didn't actually see anything.
Yeah.
But now, having seen at least 4 seasons of the show and stepping back, and I see sort of the big sweeping arcs of things, I think a lot of stuff happens and some really cool stuff happens. But I definitely think it's sort of a big picture show.
Gotcha.
It's like a big picture show that constantly focuses on the smallest moments. It makes life, especially life for those people, to me, feel really important moment to moment. I think that's why I like it. I can't really say for sure, but
Gotcha.
But by all means, hate it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'll see more of it because my wife likes it so much, so I'm sure I'll be watching it because I'm equal opportunity husband. I will watch it if she's watching it.
Yeah.
So, hey, guess what? Here is the trailer for Cowboys and Aliens.
I need to know where you came from.
So do I. What the hell?
We need you.
What is that thing? Why are you asking me? Because you've shot it. We need every gun we can get. And they're gonna wipe us out.
Who is she?
She's the only one who knows who I am.
You know who you are. You just have to remember.
Grab your guns. We're riding out. We get our people!
We have one advantage. They underestimate you.
Should we step in? Looks like he's doing fine.
Welcome back. See, this is why Brad needs to be here. We go totally out of order. He keeps us in line. Me and James just don't care. We talk about whatever we want. We're all over the place. TV, movies. Who cares? But anyways, so Cowboys and Aliens came out, and going into the movie, I really wanted to see it when I saw the first trailer. And as it went along, and then I started seeing reviews, it didn't get very good reviews.
Yeah, it was scaring the crap out of me the last couple of days.
It was me too.
First review I saw from it. I just want to. I think it's a smart thing to talk about this at the beginning because it sort of sets the pace for whatever we say after this. The first review I saw of this was on Slash Film, I believe by Russ Fisher, but it might have been Jermaine. It was a 3 out of 10. A 3.
Wow.
A 3. Like that's not Twilight numbers. Twilight would be like a 0 or a 1, but still that's close. Like 1 and 3 are very close together.
Yeah.
So go on.
So I was a little concerned, but after watching the movie, I enjoyed it.
So did I.
Because, to me, what it actually was a Western that they put aliens in.
Yeah.
And I like Western movies. I do. I like Open Range. I like Dances with Wolves. Yeah. I like 3:10 to Yuma.
Have you ever seen Unforgiven?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like Unforgiven. Tombstone.
You see 3:10.
I like those kind of movies.
Appaloosa.
And to have a movie that takes elements that I like, Harrison Ford, and he was cool in the movie too.
I think it's the best the best performance we've gotten out of Harrison Ford in at least 10 years. Maybe since The Last Crusade.
I said this. I know you don't like the Kingdom Crystal Skull, but when I watched that movie, I said this. I said, this is the most fun I've seen Harrison Ford have in a movie in 10 years.
Yeah,
and he was good as Indy in that movie. I enjoyed that movie, but as far as being an actor,
right?
Oh my gosh! And
because in that movie he's having fun, but at a certain point it feels like he's playing a caricature of this character he once loved.
Yeah, and I think that's
he's really doing something new.
I think that's what was brilliant about it. And I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I just love this part. He comes in the movie. He's this badass guy. He doesn't take shit from anybody. He's this. He's that. He's not nice. He's trying to save his son who's shooting up the town. But he has a moment with the little boy Emmett when they're walking, and he's telling this story because he gave Emmett his knife.
Yeah,
and he says, "You want to know how I got that knife?" And he tells it, "I'm not going to repeat the story because
you can't do it.
I can't do it." But the moment that stuck with me is because Emmett was crying. He says, "Be a man." Oh my!
I'm going to go further than that. I'm going to say
loved that.
every quiet scene with Harrison Ford in this movie, they're all the best scenes in the movie.
Oh,
the scene
with the apple.
The scene with the apple, and the scene, sort of what leads up to that is great. Even him sort of being cruel to this friend character that he has. It's a well written. They're all well written scenes, and they're all really well acted scenes.
And it makes you miss Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Because there was a time when I would watch his movies, I said, Harrison Ford is the best actor ever. Because there's times when you see movies, for some reason I'm drawing a blank, but you could watch him and you feel for him. And
because even in the ones that aren't, the ones he's known for, but things like, Air Force One, or 6 Days, 7 Nights, where he's really just sort of this fun sort of action-y character.
Exactly.
He's amazing. And one of the interesting things is that I never really look at him when he's really in a role. I don't look at him as Harrison Ford.
Me too.
Even though he's Han Solo and Indiana Jones, I still, when I watch Air Force One, he's the president. When I watch, 6 Days, 7 Nights, and then this movie, and this is probably the first movie since the 90s where I've done that. Because in a movie like Firewall or something like that, I look at him and I go, here's Harrison Ford.
You know what movie I think he's actually pretty good in that maybe some people might disagree is What Lies Beneath.
I've never seen it.
Because he plays in that movie, he plays like a husband and a caring guy. And you just look at him and you're like, oh man, when Harrison Ford's on, he commands the presence of the screen. And in this movie, every time I saw it, I forgot he's Harrison Ford. He's this crusty old Civil War vet who doesn't like to be called colonel anymore because, he's responsible for the death of his men. But he doesn't believe, it's just an amazing performance. And
to not skip over, it's a really well written character.
It is.
Which is part of why it's so good, is that he's given lines and scenes that are moments where this movie that could have easily just been an action movie, this movie gets to sort of settle and get us into these characters.
And I read an interview with him and Jon Favreau, and he rejected the script when he first was given it. And John called him. I call him against my friend. Mr. Favreau called him and explained it to him because he didn't get it right away. Yeah. And he said, and the enthusiasm that Jon Favreau had sold him on the script. Yeah. And then, so after reading that, I thought it'd just be crusty old Harrison Ford all pissed off being in a movie. But then he just made that role.
Yeah.
He's the best part in that movie.
And again, we're sort of doing this scattershot, but, to back away even from that, it's really an ensemble movie.
Yeah.
It's got this big cast, and I think all of the characters are treated that well.
Yeah.
Even the ones that, Sam Rockwell's got this little character as sort of the bartender. It's a great character. And there's a moment in the movie where the audience cheered at, like, he does something and you knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's almost overwrought. Like, you've seen that thing before, but still it's played in such a way that when it happens, like I said, not only did the audience cheer, I didn't cheer, but I wanted the audience to cheer. Like I'm not the kind of person who cheers
I don't cheer either.
But but when that happened, I was like, oh, I hope the audience cheers, and then they did. And I was like, oh, they like this too.
Yeah, exactly. And and it was just a cool movie because again, I like westerns, and to have an element in westerns you don't see, I thought made it cool. I always thought it'd be cool to do a western that had zombies in it because you don't see that either.
Yeah, I think what makes this movie, and there are plenty of movies like this, and there are plenty of movies like this that screw it up, where
Wild Wild West.
But I mean,
it's like twice I said that in this podcast.
What has the potential of making this movie so good is that it's really a very simple idea. Mm-hmm. There are probably not two genres in the world, certainly not in America, that people know better. And it actually allows this movie some wiggle room where basically you don't need to explain cowboys and you don't need to explain aliens. You just go at the same time. Mm-hmm. There's a great shot. It's in the trailer, but it's way longer in the movie. And I was impressed that it was this long at night when they're first getting attacked.
Oh yeah,
it's the big trailer scene where you first see the lights on the horizon, and they just sort of sit there, and they get a little bigger, and they move weird, and it just lingers on that moment for so long, and I realized, like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. It was starting to give me that same kind of chill that you get when you see, like, real, I'm doing quotes, real UFO footage. Where you
Yeah.
go like,
Oh, yeah.
Or, you know, the people who like, or by like I mean aren't afraid of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, how I imagine they feel. Not terrified, but just like sort of curious.
Yeah, and you know, I think you're right. They there's great moments there because they even slowed the pace down.
Yeah.
Where they shot characters and their faces like, oh, look how pretty that is.
And you just get this really cool juxtaposition of the two. Like, the idea is right there.
And there's some sort of serenity over the whole scene.
Yeah.
And then it, you know, obviously, because you've seen the trailer, it
stuff blows up.
Stuff blows up. But it's a great flip-flop because I appreciate those moments in movies. And that's why I love Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi does it too. He'll do something where it gets super loud, and then he brings it way down. And if you watch his movies, that's a trick he does all the time, especially in his horror movies. Is, you know, we talked about Drag Me to Hell, and the part where she gets just ravaged, and thrown down, and then quiet, and then again, boom. And there's a couple parts in this movie where Jon Favreau does that too, and I think that's awesome.
And I think I appreciate it so much here because, for me, the first 20 minutes or so are a little bit hurt by the fact that they're very much the trailer, and you know, I unfortunately saw the trailer so many times because it was in theaters so much that I kind of knew the beats pretty well. Like, I knew, you know, there was lots of cool stuff that was in there, and the fight sequences, especially in the bar there at the beginning, is a very well choreographed, cool. You know, it's a sort of like, you know, it's just cowboys fighting, so it's not like it's going to be some ridiculous thing, but there's some little elements in there that are neat, like, you know, he fires the gun and then holds it to a different guy's neck and the gun is still hot, like little cool ideas like that. But then to have, in the trailer, it's like all of a sudden it's nighttime and then they get attacked, and so for this scene to come up where it's just sort of this quiet scene is really cool.
And so I think...
And sets the tone for the rest of the movie.
Exactly, because there's some, like you said, the best parts are the quiet moments, and I mean, that part's so subtle and so quiet.
It actually reminded me a lot of Captain America, where I feel like the best part, you know, the action scenes in this movie are actually really good, and I would even say they're better than Captain America, but I think that the real gold here, no, that's not a...
Hey!
The real gold here is those quiet scenes, is the scenes with Harrison Ford, the scenes, pretty much every single thing that happens in the American Grace, I believe it was called, which is the thing that's upside down. We don't have to say what, but they're at a thing that's upside down at one point, and every scene in that movie, in that section of the movie, I think is perfect.
Yeah,
that's where we get the monster revealed in a way that
the monster's cool too.
The monster's really cool, and I think that scene is so perfect because we've sort of been Jaws and every movie since it have trained us to expect to not see the monster till the end, and so to all of a sudden have the monster in our face. We're looking at it, and we learn everything about it so quickly. We're able to sort of get that scare that I actually don't feel like I get that often anymore. And then it also allows them to show us the monster a lot later, because at a certain point it's just war. I really don't know what everybody else is seeing.
I don't know either.
I mean, there are things about the movie that I don't like, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But for the most part, this is the movie that was advertised.
Oh yeah, I
this
agree.
is a simple movie about cowboys fighting aliens.
Yeah.
And in a way, I don't know. I don't know why it's not working for everybody else, but
I don't
it works
get it
for
either.
me. So.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, why I said it was a good idea that we started with people not liking it is because maybe it was that, and we talked about this at dinner, maybe it was that our expectations were lowered, but I don't think so.
No.
I mean, if I'd gone into this movie, I think I would still feel the same way.
Me too. I didn't get either because as I'm watching this movie, I'm like, this movie's fun. I mean, and I like
it's
the
a movie
action.
called Cowboys and Aliens. It's exactly what.
I like the action scenes. I love the Harrison Ford. That's my favorite moment in the movie is when he's giving that speech to the boy.
Yeah,
I love that part. But you know, it's just a cool movie. And I mean, we really didn't talk about Daniel Craig, but I mean, he really doesn't have much to do except shoot things.
Yeah, I have two gripes with the movie, and one of them is Daniel Craig. I kind of feel like we called it sort of the born identity of. He's sort of the Jason Bourne of Cowboys, where he doesn't remember who he is. But the thing about Jason Bourne is, while he's got the same thing of, he's got, you know, these fighting skills he didn't expect he did, which is cool. When the emotional scenes come along, he's a very personal, kind of guy. He sort of wears himself on his sleeve in a way that I think Matt Damon takes that character and blows the emotion up a little bit. You know, because while the character doesn't know who he is, and we don't know what that person has been, what that person's done in their past, we need to know who that person is. We need to get an idea of the character, the personality. So I think they should have cast somebody who wasn't going to play it sort of straight the way that Daniel Craig does, where he plays it like a blank slate. I think they needed to cast somebody who was going to blow every scene up and sort of be like, you know, have a personality but not know who he was.
Yeah.
That's what you know. And so I think that's why so many of the side characters steal the show, because
I agree.
Our main character, and why they made it sort of an ensemble movie, is because the main character isn't really anything. Like I don't really relate to him in the way that I should.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, he's fine in the movie. I think it's not really his fault, because I think sometimes the character isn't really that well developed.
Yeah,
but I know what you mean.
I think they try to develop him through flashbacks a little too much.
Yeah. And what sucks is sometimes, and I mean, I won't spoil what happens, but when you're supposed to feel emotion, like have an emotional connection to him, it doesn't really feel that emotional.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's definitely somewhere that character fails, where he's just not. You know, maybe he needed one scene, or maybe he needed more jokes. I think, you know, something like that, where he needs to be somebody we like more, not just that he's our hero. Yeah,
you know, my favorite scene with him is when Harrison Ford knees him in the balls and he just punches Harrison Ford and they both stare at each other. That was awesome.
Yeah. There's a lot of really good scenes like that where like they sort of start a fight and then there's just like this weird
respect.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's a lot of weird respect moments in the movie. My other big gripe with the movie, and it's not even that big, again, like this movie's really cool, but at some point, and we don't need to say exactly what it is, but at some point there's a turn with Olivia Wilde.
But you kind of got that from the trailer, right?
Well,
because she said,
I knew
"My
something
people."
weird was gonna happen. Yeah, but I didn't I thought she meant her people from the other town. Yeah, I didn't think she meant what she means, which at this point we've kind of spoiled. But even then, my problem is, like I said before, you don't need to explain anything about this. And that was the one point where they take this character who was just sort of a mystery and turn her into an exposition machine. And luckily, there's really only one scene where she sits down and says, like, here's what's happening.
Yeah.
And then we move on. But I don't think you even needed that. Like, explaining why the aliens are here is unnecessary. We know how aliens work. You know, and part of what was so fun, especially about the early half of the movie, is how it plays on our idea of UFOs and sort of really sort of takes the stereotypical alien idea of like even the first scene we really see them in, they're butchering cattle, which is like the most bizarre thing. Why aliens would ever do that, and they never explain it in the movie because they don't need to. But the nice thing is that once they do that turn with Olivia Wilde, like, there's that scene, and then there's the ending, and that's really all that it affects. You know, it gives them a way to
She's pretty.
end the movie. Yeah, but I mean, she was gonna be pretty whether she was what she is in the first half or not. But like I said, even that's not enough to make the really great parts of this movie not good.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, I mean, because you can sit there and say, "Oh, Daniel Craig's kind of boring in the movie," but you understand why he is. I think it's really the character written that way.
Yeah.
And I don't, because
and it doesn't mean that there's nothing in the movie to hold on to.
Exactly. And yeah, because even he has those quiet moments, when that Percy kid's shooting up the town because he thinks he can get away with it because
what a great scene.
Because of who his dad is. And then Daniel Craig doesn't put up with it because he doesn't care.
Paul Dano is just great in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Oh man.
What other movies is he in?
He's in There Will Be Blood, which I think is the closest thing.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, but what?
Okay.
But what? When he was a kid and he was in movies.
Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah. Oh, he's great in that.
Oh, you're
too.
talking about when he was a kid? I don't know.
Oh, maybe that's the one I'm thinking of him in.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely younger looking in Little Miss Sunshine.
But yeah, he's great in that movie, and he's great in this one too. He's like a kid of privilege where you don't think he would have privilege.
Yeah.
And he yeah.
And it's an amazing cast all around. Walton Goggins is in this movie.
Who was Sam Rockwell the best part of almost every movie?
Yeah.
I mean, he's great in that movie, and I love him in Iron Man 2. And in Gentlemen Broncos.
Unfortunately, he doesn't get a chance to dance in this movie.
No, but that was one of my favorite scenes ever in a superhero movie is when Sam Rockwell tries to be as cool as Tony Stark.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And Keith Carradine is in this movie. He's the guy who plays the sheriff.
Yeah.
Plays the sheriff who gets captured at some point. Just does a great job. He's one of the character actors that shows up. I mean, everybody involved in this movie is a big name.
Oh yeah, even the writers.
I think that's part of why people are sort of disappointed by it, is that they see these at least 3 big name writers on there, Damon Lindelof and then Kurtzman and Orsi, who I think are the most recent writers.
Yeah.
I think the other 2 writers on there are sort of the original script. That's my suspicion. And then it's Jon Favreau and Steven Spielberg and Ron Howard and Brian Grazer.
Everybody is huge on that.
Yeah, and so I have a
Brian
feeling
Grazer
that
is so weird looking.
he is
Like an old dude with like spiked eyes.
He's kind of like Tim Burton's cousin that everybody likes a little more.
Yeah.
The one that doesn't talk at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So Paul Dano was in The Emperor's Club and The Girl Next Door and
Nope.
Taking Lives. And
Taking Lives, yeah.
Anyway, so I have a feeling that just because there were so many big names on there, that's why people thought it was going to be, I don't even know what.
Yeah, I don't know what people expected from it. To me, it had cowboys and aliens in it.
Yeah. I would even go so far as to say that with the exception of that Olivia Wilde story point, I would say that it's probably as good as an Iron Man movie. Certainly as good as 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've always been one of those people who didn't love Iron Man as much as other people just like think it. Anyway, we're going off the rails. But, an action movie like that, I think it's just as good.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
And a really good creature design, like you said. Oh, yeah,
the creature's awesome.
When I first saw it, later you see it so much that I think it lost some of its zing. But when I first saw it, I was like, man, this is one of the best alien designs I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I think that's because you just got used to it,
Yeah.
And when you first saw it, it was dark and cold and
very close and brutal. And you didn't see it as a whole. I think it sort of looks a little bit goofy, in the daylight.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I was saying. Like when it's out in the sun and it's not as terrifying, even though they do some pretty terrifying things by sticking people.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, and there's so many. I can kind of see how somebody who is more cynical could see certain plots as you see certain plot beats and that things are going to end a certain way. Mm-hmm. You said the thing about the knife. Well, that ends in a way that you would expect.
Yeah,
I'm not exactly. The situation is interesting, but you know that at some point something's going to happen with that knife. And then the thing with Sam Rockwell's character. That's going to end a certain way. But who that's true of every movie.
Yeah, but the funny thing with the Sam Rockwell point is they never show him doing it. Before then.
Right,
but
exactly.
He never has that moment where he gets it. So to have it at that particular moment is brilliant.
And the way it's shot, because you don't see that it's him, it's just another and then you
great reveal.
It reveals
because the reveal led to the cheer and
that's where the cheer came and it was great.
Yeah.
It's some sort of cliche little moments, but done really well.
Yeah, because you have people like Favreau and those actors and those writers. So they know how to handle stuff like that because you expect it, but if it's handled in a way that's amazing, then it makes it that much better.
Yeah. And it's funny. There's a whole lot of good comedy.
Oh yeah.
In the movie. I don't mean like slapsticky comedy.
No, not at all. It's
like I said,
moments.
Walton Goggins is great in it. The whole scene, the scene. Anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying.
I loved. I always liked you the best.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole scene leading up to that is just they're wonderful little. I don't know. This is the first time in a while that I've really been so opposite of what I've seen everybody else say. There are times when I expect. There's the Transformers when I expect that I'm going to have more fun than the critics or than most people. But that's different. This is like a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, that's not right.
I don't know. I don't get it.
Either do I. But that's because we're cooler than those people.
Probably. That's very possible.
It's a definite.
So, Brad, what's next week?
Next week is Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
man.
August already. Can you believe that?
No.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking
Are
forward
you sure
to.
we can't go see Crazy Stupid Love instead of Rise of the
Well, I think I'm
Planet?
going to see that this week with Laura if you want to come with us.
No, that sounds awkward.
Well, I don't think it's romantic. I guess it kind of is.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if you guys are going, let me know.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll probably see that one, and I'm looking forward to Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I'm the only one in our group.
I'm curious. Honestly, I'm glad that you want to see it because it gives me an excuse to go see it. Mm-hmm. But
When the other Ryan, when he was leaving, I said, "Hey man, next Friday, if you want to come or see Planet of the Apes," and he says, "Yeah, I don't know."
yeah, well, he's really good about letting you down easy. Ryan's never a harsh person.
No, he was really nice about it.
Yeah, yeah. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and I think the Change Up is next.
Oh, the
weekend,
Change Up.
too.
Yeah, I guess I want to see that one too. Because I like Jason Bateman.
Yeah, I do too.
And it's rated R for like lots of language and nudity, so I gotta see
I
it.
guess. I don't know. I don't think that the trailers really look that good, but the one thing I love about it is the fact that it's been done, the whole two people switch bodies, but it's never been done in such a way that the two people switch bodies because they're both peeing into a fountain at the same time. That I like that joke. But I don't know. I don't think I care enough. Though it's got Olivia Wilde in it.
Yeah, dude, she's in everything.
She is. Yeah.
What other movie
Which
did we
I'm
saw a
totally
preview for
okay
that she
with.
was in?
Um
The Justin Timberlake one.
Oh man, we didn't talk about that. Yeah, she's in Time with Justin Timberlake.
She's in everything.
Yeah.
Was she started in House?
No, she didn't start in House. She was in Alpha Dog, and then she bounced around for a while.
I heard she's going to do the Linda Lovelace biopic, which is
at
awesome,
least
and
she
she's
got
naked
signed
in
with
it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the same movie that Lindsay Lohan was supposed to be in and dropped out of. Which, hopefully, the fact that they're I don't know.
If she's
that I
naked
ca-
in
I
it,
don't know
I'll
that
go
I
see
care
it.
either way. Even if she's not naked in it, I'll probably go see it
Yeah.
because I like her.
She's good.
She's not like I'm not expecting to see her in Mad Men next week, but as she's pretty and carries her weight.
Yeah,
And I really want to see her play Laura Croft sometime.
that'd be awesome. So so next week will be Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which I don't like the title, but whatever.
Yeah, Rise of the Apes would have been better.
Yeah, but I'm Ryan. Across from me is James,
James.
and we'll see you next week. Go Real Nerds.
Bye.
Bye.